This episode of Manage Smarter is presented by Sales Fuel Coach, our adaptive sales coaching featuring 5-minute quick coaching personalized to each sales rep. Learn more about Sales Fuel Coach at salesfuel.com. Welcome to the Manage Smarter podcast with hosts C. Lee Smith and Audrey Strong. We're glad you're here for discussions on new ways to manage smarter, hire, develop and retain talent, improve results, and propel team performance to new heights. This is the Manage Smarter podcast.
Our guest today, Lee, he says we all need a digital technology survival kit so our businesses can survive all this social distancing. I think this is going to be great.
I think so too. Social distancing, and regardless of what happens with the coronavirus, is not something that's going to be going away anytime soon. And so it's going to be great to get some tips on how this can help us get past all the social distancing and some of the disruptive changes that have happened since the virus.
Absolutely. Welcome to Manage Smarter, everyone. I'm Audrey Strong, Vice President of Communications here at Sales Fuel.
And I'm C. Lee Smith, the President and CEO of Sales Fuel.
That's right. So Frank Zinghini is our guest, and he has a great way of sort of organizing this and breaking it out so everybody can easily understand what they need to do. President and CEO, Applied Visions, Inc. Applied Visions helps businesses build and expand their digital relationship with customers across all available digital channels. AVI develops products and services using technologies from the cloud, so Frank definitely knows what he's talking about, from desktop to mobile, and even down to the device level with the Internet of Things to maintain seamless, continuous connections with the customers. Frank founded AVI with an intense focus on building applications that delight customers and drive revenue. And so, Frank, welcome. Thank you for coming to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure to be with you guys.
This is great. All right. So first things first, before we go by industry, you wrote this great article. What should the digital technology survival kit contain?
What it needs to contain is a way for your customers, and by customers, I mean either consumers or business partners or whoever you're doing business with, needs to be able to work with you through all of the digital channels that people have come to expect to be able to do anything. There's huge expectations now in the marketplace over how businesses behave digitally. And when I say digital, as you went through in that great introduction you gave, it's your website, it's your mobile app, it's maybe even your product itself that has an internet connection. It's all the different channels through which your customers pretty much demand to be able to work with you.
Got it. That makes sense. So individuals to each business.
Yep.
So by industry, you put it into 3 buckets: service, industries, service companies, product companies, and experience-based companies. Which one do you want to talk about first?
Well, I think we should probably start out with product businesses, because I think that's the way most people relate to the world. It's actually very interesting because we are becoming increasingly a service economy. But I always find it interesting to start out talking about products, because most people think about their lives as interacting with products, and then they realize about halfway through that what they're really describing is a service. But a product company, somebody who is selling a thing, a tangible item, historically they may not have even thought about digital relationships with people. If you're selling something, food or clothing or cars or anything, there's always a personal component. There's always a physical connectivity to the product and to people. You want the customers coming into your store, and that's all wonderful when it happens. We're in a situation right now where that's not happening, but we were kind of headed in this direction anyway before all of this happened. You saw companies like Carvana letting you buy cars over the internet, and they would drop them off at your house. You've seen companies already going in this direction because you've seen consumers demanding that they go in this direction. That's just been accelerated by the unfortunate events of the current situation, and it's not going to come back. I mean, people will eventually go back into stores, of course. That's not so much the point as it is that growing demand for a digital relationship with your company and with your product has been accelerated and is not going to abate once things come back to something resembling normal. So that means your relationship with your customer extends way beyond the boundaries of whatever product you've sold them. It's how do they continue to deal with you to get support for that product? How do they answer questions about that product? How do they shop for it in the first place? How do they learn about it? And in many cases, when they own the product, how does that product itself participate in that relationship? I've got a GM vehicle with OnStar in it that reminds me when I need service. It lets me know when things are available. It gives me a monthly diagnostic report on my car telling me that one of my tires needs air. My car is now part of my day-to-day life and part of my relationship, and I have an ongoing relationship with General Motors because the car is participating. How many people today have smart thermostats that they can check over the internet on their phone and program remotely? And it's almost to the point now where you sort of take that for granted. Anybody with a physical product needs to at least look at that product and say, how do I want to interact with my customer about this product or even through this product beyond the way I'm used to doing it? And if I'm selling cheese, that cheese is not going to go onto the Internet of Things, of course. Mm-hmm. But I might still want to have some avenue to my customers that's maybe a little more sophisticated than just a website, but some way that I can invite them into the shop remotely to learn about maybe some new products that I've gotten. Maybe I'm going to have a guest lecture with a cheesemonger from some school. Mm-hmm. You have to think about the broader relationship with your customer that is around your product and not just about the product itself.
I have an awkward relationship with Siri.
Well, it's interesting because that's an interesting observation. I personally am not a big fan of these home devices for all kinds of reasons. And I don't consider, so Siri I would consider a service, by the way, and not a product. And it's not a service of the company that I'm trying to ask Siri about. It's a service of Apple, and Alexa is a service of Amazon. And what I find about those things, those home assistants, they have their cuteness to them. But if you actually try to use them for something productive, and in fact, to buy a service, and maybe some company that you're dealing with has, taught Alexa to do certain things, and now they're all proud of the fact that you can ask Alexa to use their product. And then you ask Alexa to do something, and perhaps she doesn't quite understand you and does something different. And you find yourself arguing with Alexa or Siri.
That's it.
And getting angry at the company that you're trying to do business with rather than getting angry at Apple or Amazon. So it's interesting that you brought that up, but I am not a fan of those devices. Maybe someday they'll be perfect, and it could be like in Star Trek where you just start talking and things happen.
That'd be great.
Eventually we'll get there. This is like we're nowhere close to being there yet.
We're nowhere close.
They're stupid right now. So.
Exactly. I don't have one of those. On a couple of occasions, I've tried doing it while driving, forgetting directions, and I find myself screaming at Siri. No.
But you mentioned cars. It's like, I drive a Tesla, and it's like, and we get software updates like every month or whatever. It's like Christmas. Because now your car can do something new that it couldn't do before.
Well, you're at the far end of that spectrum, and it's wonderful. I have friends with Teslas. I don't have one myself, but you're actually driving an app. It's an integrated software hardware system.
Yeah,
it's an iPad on wheels.
Exactly. But and those are great examples of how digital technology becomes part of your relationship with your customers. And again, people think, wow, that's a car, and I don't sell cars. It's really not hard to imagine many products all the way down to the consumer level. And don't forget, I'm also talking about business to business. Your product may be an oil pump for some device in the field that you have traditionally sent trucks out to refuel and service on a regular schedule. And maybe they get out there to service the pump and they see, oh, this didn't really need service. It hasn't been running that much, and the fuel tank is full. I just wasted a truck roll. We have clients now where we're instrumenting those oil pumps, so they get on the internet and they tell you when they need fuel. Just like my car tells me when I need to put air in the tires, these oil pumps out in the middle of the desert can let you know they need to be serviced, so you're not wasting truck rolls.
Refrigerators
so that is very much sorry?
Refrigerators can tell you that you need milk.
Well, and that's another one that I find a bit of hyperbole that will probably never be practical. Mm-hmm. Conceptually, yes, that's part of the whole relationship with your product. But there again, you're having a relationship with your refrigerator that's trying to anticipate your needs for other products. And there's a whole world of that sort of thing going on, and there's lots of people doing lots of work out there. But I'm more interested in how the product itself, and I don't know that a container of milk will ever tell me it needs to be refilled. That's probably a bit extreme. But yes, you can very much have things like, and there may be ways of having those refrigerators participate a little more closely with the products that you put in them, so you're not getting all kinds of weird data. Last thing you want to do is get an endless stream of reports from your refrigerator saying you're out of this, you're out of, yeah, I know. That becomes,
unless you're living with somebody who leaves a tablespoon of milk in the jug and throws
well,
it back in there, which is.
But that's more of a behavioral issue, and that's a subject for one of your other guests. I think you had somebody talking about drama in the workplace, and the same thing goes in the household. Is I have situations like that where a young man in the household always puts the box of cereal back with 12 flakes in it because he knows that if he finishes it, then he has to actually recycle the box and throw it, and he doesn't want to do that.
Oh, the humanity.
Or he doesn't want to admit the fact that he ate the whole freaking box.
Or that. And I don't think digital technology is going to solve that problem.
So what about service-based businesses?
Maybe it's a one-off service that you provide. Maybe it's a subscription service or a membership service, whether you've got a club or a fitness center or a hair salon where you want your customers coming back regularly, or any kind of a business where you expect repeat visits or repeat activity, or even better, where you expect your customers to pay you monthly for the privilege of being part of whatever your service is. Your responsibility for maintaining that relationship is huge. And it has changed again because of the nature of the way the industry has changed, the nature of the way technology has changed. All of your competitors, and not just your competitors, but similar businesses to yours who are doing a good job of taking care of your service customers or your membership, that's causing your membership to then demand of you a similar level of service. Well, I don't understand why, I don't get all this value from you, because I get all that value from this other thing that I'm a member of. And when you have times like this where now you can't physically interact with your customers, which is just brutal for service businesses, you have to ask yourself, how can I maintain that relationship with these people until I do get to see them again? That's particularly challenging in membership-based businesses, most of whom have done the right thing by their customers and sent out emails saying we're suspending your membership, you're not going to pay anything while you're not being able to come into the gym or to the wherever. But you can't just send that email saying, so we'll see you when this is all over, okay? Mm-hmm. Because you want them to not cancel that membership. You want them to be excited when that membership gets renewed again. So you're forced to now project things to them. And you're seeing this all over the place, from dance studios offering classes. One of our biggest clients is a national fitness chain. They're, of course, doing workout classes, and they've got celebrity guests doing workouts, and they're pushing all this value digitally to their membership in the hope that their members will continue to identify with their brand, identify with their service, want to be part of it, and return to that membership activity when the world comes back together.
And now is the time for service-based businesses, or whatever, like that you can really stand out by providing new value and new insights, and during the whole coronavirus thing, or the aftermath of it. Because if you have people wherever that are sitting on their hands, or whatever, it's like, well, hey, there's nothing I can do about it. I'm just going to wait it out. Right. That sort of thing. It's like, retool your content, retool your service, retool your interactions with customers or whatever, and adapt very quickly then to the changes that have happened, to the entire world because of this virus. And I think if you do that, then as a service-based business, you really stand out, and you build a lot of goodwill that will carry forward. Then even once things are done, that you'll definitely have a leg up.
Absolutely. It's so true. And as I said earlier, we were being pushed in this direction anyway. This has just been a massive accelerant. Now, a lot of people have quickly figured out, and to their credit, okay, I can get a Zoom account, I can do this, I can start doing this, and start at least reminding people that we are here and trying to provide some value. But you've got to take that to the next step, as you just said, to say, well, how can I turn this kind of a relationship into a permanent component of my overall relationship with my members, or with my service customers? What can I offer here that they will want even after it's possible for them to come into my shop or come into my gym or interact with me physically? How do I extend that relationship? Because then what happens is your members aren't only thinking about you when they're in your building, they're thinking about you when they're at home and you're on their phone or you're on their iPad, or they're thinking about you when they're sitting in an airport killing time and they think, I wonder what those guys are doing today, because every week they have something new here. So even when I can't go into their shop.
They're thinking about you when they want to think about you, not when you want them to think about you.
Exactly. And that's the direction digital technology has been pushing everybody. You have to be there for your customers when they want you, not when you're ready for them.
So a wider net, be more present more often in different new ways, it sounds like.
Yes, and be more present and think about how you can offer value to these people's lives outside of when they're in your shop. And we've seen tons of examples of this, and it's all great. Liquor stores providing lessons on mixology, things that keep that relationship going. And that all revolves around keeping over these, what we call omnichannel communications with your customers. You're there on the web, you're there on their phone, you're there in their tablets, and you're there in their car. You're there wherever they might think about interacting with you. And it seems daunting, and it does turn into a fair amount of work for the service providers to remember all these different channels and to know that they really should be providing this value on the web, and they really should be providing this value in the store. And it overlaps, because you can have an electronic kiosk in your facility so that when somebody walks through your physical doors, they can tap into their digital relationship with you, because maybe they started something at home. And I could list 100 different variations on examples here, but maybe they started some project at home and then they walk in your store and they want to pick it up there and say, yeah, this is what I'm doing here, and I had this design for this thing that you posted, and I'm trying to do that, and I need these components. And then you have that interaction continue right into the store and then back home again when you finish up. It needs to be a seamless experience.
Hopefully it'll scan your forehead then to take your temperature before you actually go into the store.
Well, and you know what? God bless the people who are building things just like that. There's companies in the industry rallying around the need. I just read a paper yesterday about somebody building exactly that device that would be at the doorway to a store, just like a security camera or a package scanner that would be reading body temperatures as they come in. We've got customers who do that sort of thing.
It already has those little things at the door that go woo woo whenever you try to shoplift. So it's like, if I take your temperature too, why not?
Yep.
But like when those go off, though, prior to the pandemic, nobody would pay attention when they went off. But I'll tell you, when they go off, if you're taking temperatures, people will definitely.
Well, yeah, because it's a question of relative value. They go off when somebody's leaving your TJ Maxx and, maybe they've got a pair of sweatpants in there they didn't pay for. If they go off when somebody's coming into the TJ Maxx, it's going to get a lot more attention.
We've got about 2 minutes left, Frank. So give us experience-based. You're on fire. This is the fastest 20 minutes in the world. Experience-based businesses. I know some of our listeners might have those. So quick tips for them.
My heart goes out to this particular industry. I happen to have a background in theater. The theaters are all dark. The actors aren't on stage. The musicians aren't in the pit. My heart really goes out to that industry. I don't know when people are going to be comfortable going back into those. Obviously, we have the opportunity to provide value to audiences for entertainment digitally. It's a little hard for a theater company really to do that. It's hard for a dance company to do that, but you can keep that relationship open. There's an art house cinema in my town that's doing a wonderful job of providing curated movie selections on their website. So instead of browsing through Netflix for an hour and a half, only to throw your hands up and rewatch an episode of The West Wing, you can go to them and they will have chosen what they think is a classic movie you should watch that you've never heard of, and by God, it's great. So they're trying. Restaurants, they're going into delivery, of course, but so we have a whole line of business about supporting scheduled meal delivery services where you can subscribe to a kitchen and you'll lay out your menu for the week and they'll deliver prepared food to you. We've got now restaurants interested in purchasing that software from us to turn their kitchens into a subscription-based service. Some of them may learn that it's better just to have a kitchen that generates meals for delivery and not bother with the front of the house. Others who really love the restaurant business may see that a hybrid will help, where once they can start bringing people into the front of the house, we know they're going to be spaced far apart. A 130-seat dining room may turn into a 30-seat dining room. These restaurants are going to have to find a way to keep the revenue flowing. So Delivery, of course, is an option. The mechanism that existed before this of, you go to their website, you read their menu, you call up DoorDash or Uber Eats, and it gets picked up, and Uber Eats takes a slice, and it's all very inefficient, is not as lucrative for the restaurant if I dealt directly with them and said, here's what I'd like on Monday, here's what I'd like on Wednesday, and here's what I'd like on Friday, and you can go ahead and do this every week of the month until I change my menu. That's a whole new avenue for them.
I think the restaurant should have meal plans like in college.
Well, and there's something to that. But what's interesting is there's an enormous population of people who are uncomfortable with their own kitchens and have been sort of struggling and finding the store shelves empty, and they're just not comfortable making their own food. So they're going out there and using these delivery services, and it's great. But it is better to have a subscription than to just do meals on demand. If a restaurant knows they've got 100 different customers who've pre-ordered 3 weeks worth of meals, they can plan for that. They can shop for that. They can adjust their menus to be able to, inventory the right kinds of foods. It's a whole different business model. It's one that was building up anyway. There's a concept of ghost kitchens, where kitchens would represent basically non-existent restaurants. There'd be no actual physical restaurant.
Cloud kitchens.
Right? Yeah, well, actually, they call them ghost kitchens. But it is very possible for a restaurant to kind of work its way back to fiscal viability by doing something like this. And we are getting a lot of interest in restaurants at our meal. It's called Meal Track, our meal planning software, turning their kitchens into partial subscription kitchens. Subscription revenue is everybody's holy grail, right? We all want customers to sign up and promise to pay us a certain amount every month forever. Software has turned into subscriptions. Memberships have turned into different forms of subscriptions. This is a way for restaurants to do that.
I was going to say, and I was going to pivot to saying these are all great ideas. And if you want Frank's help in instituting some of them, the website for Frank and his team is avi.com. And then your Twitter, I like your Twitter, Frank. It's FrankZ_AVI. Is that because you think people can't spell Zinghini?
No, I don't want to make them type out all those letters. Frank Z pretty much gets it done.
Yeah, but great ideas, Frank. And I know our listeners, you've planted the seed. So reach out to Frank if you guys need some help. And we are so appreciative that you shared some of your thoughts today with us.
This has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this. And I've also enjoyed all of the other interviews posted on your site. I spent about 5 hours listening to things over the last couple of days.
Fantastic.
And, you had some terrific guests, and I really appreciate your work.
And now we have one more.
One more.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, very good, sir. Thanks, Frank.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it. Bye.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and recommend on iTunes, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also get more great information at salesfuel.com.